we know in those cities, we know.
But if they played it out this much, have they thought about it and said, you know what, we want more crime, we want more illegal aliens, and if we keep the chaos, we keep passing laws.
James Lindsay, who's been on this show many times, who is, I think, probably the best sort of holistic thinker as it comes to what wokeism is doing to our country and how they are actually ushering in communism, Marxism, whatever you want to call it. He was on Joe Rogan yesterday and listened to them talk about destabilizing a population and what that might cause people to do to ourselves.
I'm more afraid that this is intentional in a lot of places,
in
a lot of ways.
But
we know in those cities, we know.
But if they played it out this much, have they thought about it and said, you know what, we want more crime, we want more illegal aliens, and if we keep the chaos, we keep passing laws, we'll get further down the road.
If you read the Marxist literature, which is unfortunately my damn job, you can derive a number of different conclusions. One of these conclusions that you can derive absolutely is, do you know what repels a revolution in a country better than anything? Stability, social stability. So if you can destabilize a population, then you can get them to crave a revolution, or you can, like with the Patriot Act, you can get them to assent to sacrificing their liberties for security. So if you can destabilize an area, then you can cause them to want to have radical political change. We just saw this. This woman who was in the Fox News this morning, so I had to double check, but she's talking about, was she from Maryland? She's in the government. She says that she wants to burn the country to the ground so her ideology can rise out of the ashes.
Whoa. Right?
So she said this publicly, and she's the equity coordinator in one of these cities.
You know, this is an interesting point because Brett Weinstein, you may remember we played a clip of him a few weeks ago where he talked about, he was actually on Alex Jones' show, and he got a lot of shit for going on Alex Jones' show, but he's going to where people will talk to him. And he made an interesting point, which is that it's very easy to break all of these things, all of these institutions that we've had, all of the functioning, the basic functioning society that we've had. Yes, you can break it. But what comes on the other side? And that's what Rogan's point is. He's like, all right, well, wait a minute. Why would they want endless crime and endless drug use on the streets and the collapse? Because they have to live in society too. What James is pointing out there is if you want to usher in a new system, which I believe these people want to usher in a new system. They don't like this system very much, right? Do you think that AOC or Barack Obama, who's really driving this, it's not Joe Biden, obviously, or Ilhan Omar or Rashida or the president, do you think they really like America? I mean, they think it was founded on racism. Why wouldn't you want to burn it down? So then what do you have to do? Well, as James lays out, in a stable society, we have sort of force fields against like just destroying everything, right? When things basically work, when you basically can go to the store and not be mugged on the way, and your kids can go to school and not be taught that they're girls when they're boys, or when there aren't illegal immigrants all over the place and so then crime is rising, or you can't go into a store and just steal whatever you want. When you basically have a stable society, that is the force field for all the bad ideas. Then things kind of work. And yeah, and by the way, that's the way America was 20 years ago. We could have liberals arguing this, conservatives arguing this, but the thing basically worked. Now they've come in and basically destroyed absolutely everything. And we've let it rise to the point that we have Supreme Court justices who think that the First Amendment is to defend the government, not you. That is the most backwards, insane thing ever. But if you want to burn it all down, you would do exactly what they are doing right now. So they are destabilizing the population by using the woke mind virus as their vehicle. That's what DEI is. That's the purpose of all the migrants. That's the purpose of the censorship and everything else. And you know where that could all lead? To a pretty, pretty, pretty bad place.
I mean, that's one of the things that the SPLC accuses me of, though, is that I promoted the white genocide theory, which that is not true. But what are you going to do about these things?
Well, there's plenty of people that have said crazy things about white people lately that you're allowed to say. That just drives me nuts. I just said that if the logic of CRT was played out to its conclusion, that it would end in a genocide of whites, which is a completely different thing. That word "if" means a lot. If it was taken to its fullest extent, I think there's also a problem with, you know, when you tell people that a group of people are responsible for things, or a group of people, like just completely composed of individuals with completely different lives, and everyone's got different experiences, and we say that that group of people is either bad or that group of people was responsible for everything, like as soon as you do that, you allow othering.
That's right.
Othering is the number one problem we have tribally. culturally, that we can look at other human beings as if they're not us. And this is what's going on in Gaza, in Israel right now.
That's what's going on with this guy. I'm not going to defend whatever, but this dude, like, the counter reaction eventually to relentless identity politics is for the other side to start saying, okay, identity politics. Right or wrong, what it does is it creates more of itself. It's like it's contagious.
It makes people more racist.
Yeah, it does.
It does. And when they feel like there's racism allowed against white people, that there's this double standard, then they get racist. There's a lot of people that do that, man. And it fuels it. It's fucking horrible.
Yes, that is absolutely correct, Joe, right? Like, what has happened here? Do you think America is less racist or more racist than it was, say, 20 years ago? What do I always say? It's like, if we could just go back to 1995, we basically had it all solved. There were a few little things on the margins that we had to deal with, but that was it, right? We went, unfortunately, once there was equality, true equality, nobody was discriminated against by any law. Once we got that, they decided to move on equity, which was a rejiggering, a reorganization of society. That has nothing to do with American values. Equality is a true, classically liberal American value that the founders intended, and we're always working to form a more perfect union, right? And that's what we've done so well here. But do you think we're more racist or less racist than we were 20 years ago? And the obvious answer to that is the country as a whole is far more racist. The left, the entire apparatus of the left is based in racism. White people are bad, Jews are particularly bad, we're going to discriminate against Asians, but they don't say much, so we don't have to deal with them. And then what happens is, as Joe's pointing out, then people who are not racist before, the average white person who was just like, oh, I'm going to work hard and have my family and do what I can, and then they're like, oh, and I keep getting passed up on these jobs for people who are less qualified. Or, I'm going to the doctor and it's going to pop into someone's brain, oh, wait a minute, my doctor's black. I wonder, do I need to look into how he got this job in the first place? And did he get into medical school more easily and everything else that I laid out before? So they are now bringing in racism into the system. And once you have racism into the system and you have allowed crime into the system and you've allowed drug use into the system and open borders, well, then you have a society that's destabilized, right? And the destabilization is exactly what they want because they want something new on the other side.